It's from a new series on Lifetime called 7 Days of Sex. It challenges married couples to have sex for 7 days in a row to improve their marriage. Joining me is Anna and Anthony Sinopoli, who took the, is that right? Pronounce it right? Sinopoli, there we go. They took the 7 Day of Sex challenge. Now, I don't quite know where to start. Let's just sort of start easy here and say, did it help your marriage?
I would say 100% yes.
What I'm imagining is, for the most part, the husbands are more enthusiastic about this. Is that, he's saying yes.
There's no denying that.
Were you resistant to it at all?
I was a little afraid of committing to the 7 days because it had been a while since we actually had 7 days of straight sex.
Is that something you used to enjoy as a couple?
Yeah,
would you
early on in the relationship.
Very early on, like in the first couple of weeks, or
No, the first few years.
First few years,
yes.
You would maintain a high level of sexual contact, and that was an intimacy that you enjoyed.
Absolutely.
Right. It must have been painful to lose that.
It was, and
It kind of puts stress on the relationship when it's absent, so to speak.
Does it put a stress on the relationship when it's required? Now you did it for 7 days, you had to do it. Did it put some kind of stress?
A good stress.
A good stress.
it was a stress reliever.
A stress reliever. Did you have to sort of, I'm going to bring my buddy Simone Bienne in. I need a little help. I need a little firepower. I'm feeling uncomfortable. Now, Simone, of course, is a psychosexual therapist. She's my co-host on Loveline. And I'm wondering, Simone, if this didn't require some creativity and wouldn't have sort of, they would have encountered some resistances that they would have needed to work through. What do you think?
I think it is very good to sometimes prioritize sex like this. I really hear what you're saying, Dr. Drew, when you talk about having a little bit of resistance, because actually to suddenly go from no sex to 7 days of sex can be overwhelming in itself. But after day one, and this would be interesting to hear from Anna and Anthony, after day one, I'm guessing it got easier and easier, and then suddenly it's like, woohoo! Back in the groove.
Is that about right?
She's absolutely correct about that. At the beginning, the first few days were a little bit awkward, and you kind of felt like you were being pushed because we committed to it. But then after a few days, we kind of let loose. And
they gave us activities to do as well, so that helped.
We had a lot more fun, like the third day in.
So would you recommend this to other couples?
I think I would. I would, definitely.
Simone, would you recommend it to other couples?
Absolutely. I wouldn't say to put pressure on for 7 days, but one weekend a month, if you can, have sex twice, Saturday and Sunday. If you can commit to that, research has shown it really is the glue that holds the relationship together.
Right.
And exactly as Anna and Anthony are saying, look, come on, let's have fun, let's celebrate life, let's celebrate our bodies, let's enjoy each other and have sex.
Let's get some calls. Thanks, Simone. Sasha, and I believe it's Worsham, Massachusetts. What's going on there?
Hi, I'm Sasha Brown-Worsham. I'm an editor at The Stir.
What do you have to say about this topic?
So I actually, I just started the challenge through Lifetime, and I'm on the second day of it. And
how's it been?
Well, it was just the first night last night, but I have to say, like, my husband all of a sudden got sick. I mean, we've been sort of anticipating this for the last 2 weeks, and my husband got sick, and so last night, like, the last thing we wanted to do was have sex. It was kind of awful, the whole lead up to it. We were just kind of lying in bed like, oh my God, do we really have to do this? So I'm worried. I'm worried that the rest of the challenge is going to be like that, where we're just kind of forcing it. And actually, once we kind of got started with it and we did it, it was actually a lot of fun, and it was really good. But I didn't know leading into it that it was going to be. So I don't know. I actually was wondering from the couples if they had a similar experience.
Did you have a similar experience?
I actually had a similar experience. Anthony was gung-ho from the beginning.
Yeah, I was very into it.
But I was a little bit, I was a little afraid in the beginning because I didn't know exactly how we were going to expose ourselves, and just being reconnected was a little bit scary and
it's
intense.
Intimidating. Whenever someone
so it was rough getting started, but once we got into it, we had a great time, and we really remembered why we fell in love and why we were attracted to each other to begin with.
Kind of brought us back to a time that we, experienced in the beginning of our relationship.
Yeah, Simone, it seems like a willingness to be vulnerable again and to sort of push it closer.
Exactly, and especially if you haven't had sex for quite a long time, you have this space between the two of you. Once you can sit with your vulnerability, because sex is all about being vulnerable and enjoying that vulnerability and the intimacy that it brings, then you can ease into it. So it's great that it worked.
Now, my next caller is Susan from California, and Susan is my wife's name. I'm really hoping I'm not getting punked here. So, Susan, go right ahead.
Not your wife.
Okay, phew, good, all right. But and by the way, let me just say though, we're all good that way, and it's funny watching people respond to couples going through this challenge. Some people are saying, "Oh my God, how could they ever imagine doing that?" And others are like, "Yeah, that's about right. That sounds good." So go ahead, Susan. What do you got for us?
Well, I agree with what they say about the intimacy that sexual contact and that type of communication brings, but I think it's a gross overstatement to say that it can save someone's marriage. It's a oversimplified solution for a complicated problem. If your marriage is in trouble, I don't think 7 days of consecutive sex is going to cure all of the ails in your marriage. And I've been married and I'm divorced, and we were knocking it out till the very end.
Knocking it out. Well, Simone, let me ask Simone, because she is a specialist in these interpersonal experiences. So, Simone, will knocking it out regularly be enough to keep a couple together? I say not. I agree with you on that.
It depends on what the issues are.
Yeah.
Certainly in my experience, what I have seen is when a couple can be intimate, their communication tends to be better, and so they can deal with issues better, and they can sense that they are on each other's side. So from that aspect, on working on a solution, working on problems together, it can be helpful. But if you have bigger issues, then of course you're absolutely right. Having sex ain't going to solve them. You need to go and see a sexual therapist or a couples therapist.
Let's take a Facebook here. It is from Larry and Chrissy, and here's what they tell us. My husband and I had sex every day for 100 days. Wow. And it was amazing.
And he's still alive.
He's still alive. They're a little dehydrated, but it was amazing. It was good for them. Let's go to a caller. Kelly in Texas. What do you got?
Hi, Dr. Drew.
Kelly?
I just think people are focusing on the word sex and the 7 days, like this is some hard and fast rule. Don't you think it's more about, getting back into intimacy and opening back up that connection?
Kelly, yes. Kelly, I have very limited time here. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but my dear, you absolutely hit the nail on the head. And I know Simone agrees with me on this, that we talk about sex as though it's some isolated phenomena, but it's an inroad to intimacy. And I think that's what Anna and Anthony have achieved here. Don't you say, Simone?
Absolutely. And for any couple watching, start kissing. If you aren't kissing, you're probably not having sex. And kissing is part of intimacy. And Dr. Drew, you and I talk about this all of the time. It's the emotional foreplay that is such a huge part of sex in itself. And as a sex therapist, we hate the word sex being sort of just isolated to intercourse. Sex means, exactly as your very intelligent caller said, intimacy. It's that emotional connection. It's the physical, the spiritual, the mental attraction as well. It
is closeness in all its permutations. Last Facebook here quickly from Veda. I took it, I could take it or leave it, LOL. I don't know why I read that one, frankly. But the cover of the... thank you, Anthony. I appreciate you. And Simone, of course, as always, I'll see you tonight on Loveline. Yes. And I want to share with people the cover of this week's Time magazine. Can we be able to put it up there? There's a lot of you gasping. Okay, I'll tell you what. I'll show you the picture after the break. There it is now. That picture is generating a ton of action in our viewers, and I want to take your calls about that after the break.